Yes, we will. Thank you very much. Okay, got it. Thank you very much, Ash, for that. And thank you, everybody, for joining us in the Michael's Community Classroom again this Monday evening after Halloween. I hope everyone had a great Halloween. We did here at Plaid. So we're excited to be back. And tonight we have a treat. It's going to be Emma teaching tonight, and we are shifting. Now that Halloween is behind us, we are in full swing holiday Christmas painting mode. So Winter Wonderland is a fun painting that we are going to be painting on glass this evening. So that's a fun technique. If you haven't done that before, hope you can join us for that and enjoy it. As Ash mentioned, the class is being recorded. So if it is going a little bit fast for you, or if the pace is, you're having trouble keeping up, you can always go back and watch at your own pace by accessing the recording. So let's go ahead and get started. I will hand it over to you, Emma.
Awesome. Thanks, John. So like John said, my name is Emma Panuski. I'm a content creator here at Plaid. And tonight I am super excited to be teaching you all how to paint Winter Wonderland, this really beautiful glass painting that works, of course, really well on glass, and it makes a really cute holiday home decor piece. But just like always, if you guys don't have the exact supplies that we have here tonight, then feel free to switch up the colors so that you're able to paint this beautiful painting on canvas instead of glass. The reason I say you can switch up the colors is because it might be a little tricky, because we're going to be using a lot of one of our best colors of FolkArt Wicker white. So that won't show up on white canvas. And I do want to say too that originally Jessie was supposed to be in here painting this beautiful painting with you all tonight, but she couldn't make it tonight. So I'm going to step in and hopefully I do her justice. So let's go ahead and get started. And I want to mention too, just like always, if you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear your comments too. Make sure to put them in the chat, and John can ask those questions to me and I can answer them for you guys here live.
Yeah.
So firstly, yeah, let's go over all the supplies that you're going to need to follow along with me tonight. Of course, you're going to need your floating glass frame or backless frame. So I'll show you guys the one that we have here. Super cute. But really any type of frame will work. Okay, so now that you have your glass, I always like to have some type of glass cleaner or rubbing alcohol to clean your glass off. That way we can just get rid of all of those oils that could be sticking to our glass that will inhibit the paint from sticking onto our glass as well as it can. So next you're going to want to have a 1-inch flat brush. Any larger sized flat brush or really medium sized flat brush will work great. I'm using tonight a number 12 round brush and any type of small liner or round brush. This is a 1 liner. So those are the brushes we're using. Next, you're going to want to have, and this is, I want to point this out too. Tonight, we're using FolkArt multi-surface as opposed to traditional FolkArt acrylic. And that's because just like in the name, multi-surface allows us to paint on glass. And just like glass, it allows you to paint on metal and canvas and wood and ceramic and porcelain, unlike regular acrylics. So that's what makes it so awesome. It's specially designed to work that way. So that's why we're using it tonight, because we are painting on glass. So in the FolkArt multi-surface formulas line, we are using Happy Green, Patina, Fire Coral, Wicker White, Lavender, Light Lavender, Baby Pink. And then a fun addition to our painting tonight, we're going to be adding a little bit of one of my favorite colors of Treasure Gold, this beautiful rose gold color. Next, I think lastly, actually, you're going to want to have some sea sponges. And I think with that, we're ready to get started. So this should be a really fun, fairly quick too, an easy one for you guys tonight. So I'm super excited to show you guys how to do it. So first, what we're going to do is we are going to clean off our glass. So right now, I just have some glass cleaner, and I'm going to give that a generous spray onto my glass. And this is something I always do whenever I am painting on a non-porous surface like glass or porcelain or ceramic. Make sure you clean it really well. Okay. Now that your glass is nice and clean, we're going to go ahead and start by applying some wicker white onto our palette. Okay. And now we're going to go ahead and take our medium-sized flat brush. And we are going to, you know what, you guys, I should have done this. I'm going to go ahead real quick and slip our painting out of our glass so that we can all get a really good look at it when we're painting tonight. There we go. It's tricky, you guys. There we go. Okay. Keep this right here. You guys see that okay?
Yep.
All right.
See it.
So what we're gonna, you can see it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so what we're gonna do first is we're gonna paint the foreground of our cute little painting here. So super easy. We're gonna take our flat brush and we're gonna do a big swoop, just like that. And go back the other way, just clean out that line. And because we're not gonna put several coats of paint on our glass here, we're just gonna do, you know, one coat. We want to be mindful of how our brush strokes look. Okay, so instead of like painting a big swoop here and then kind of going like this, we're going to keep those big brush strokes and follow that swooping motion all the way down. We just want those big broad strokes.
Emma, what size glass are you working on? It looks maybe a little bigger than 8.5 by 11. I can't tell.
You know what?
Or 8
This
by
is
10.
actually made, I took this piece of glass from an 8 by 10 floating frame.
Oh, it is 8 by 10. Okay, great. There we go.
All right, you guys. So once you have gone ahead and done that, we are done with our flat brush tonight. So that's really what it was for. And now you can go ahead and stick your brush in your water basin. Now we're going to pick up our round brush. So same thing, we're not introducing any new colors of paint. And this is a helpful little thing that we're going to do for our painting tonight. We're going to obviously apply some paint to our round brush. And what we're going to do is we're going to kind of mark out the general size of our tree, how big we want our tree to be. And what I mean by that is we're going to place a dot where we want the top of our tree to be, keeping in mind that we're going to have this beautiful snow on the edges of our frame. So we want to leave some room for that. So pick a spot where you want the top of your tree to be. And then another thing that I want you guys to do is pick how wide you want your tree to be. That way it's just a lot easier for us to follow along later. So I want my tree to be this wide, and I'm just trying to be fairly symmetrical, but I'm not trying to get it perfect because obviously trees are not perfect. So why should our tree be perfect? Okay, now what I want to do is I just want to, starting from the top so that we don't ruin like the crisp, beautiful brush strokes that we just made. We're going to start from the bottom and go to the top and just one straight line with our round brush. And don't worry about it being perfectly straight. As you can see, mine is not. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a few seconds to catch up with me there. The top of your tree and the width of your tree. So 3 dots and then one line going straight down to the middle. Do you have any questions so far, John?
No, I mean, we've had a couple, but we've been answering them. So everything's good.
Awesome. Okay, cool. All right, so let's go ahead. So what we're going to do now is we're going to apply a little bit more paint to your brush if you need it. And we're going to make these brush strokes that kind of act as our tree's branches. And so it's going to be a special stroke that we're going to do for a lot of this painting. So if you want to go ahead and practice on your palette paper before you get into the real painting, then please feel free to do that. What we're going to do, I'm going to start on my palette first just to show you guys, is we are going to make these little strokes, and we're going to apply more pressure in the beginning and then less pressure as we swoop up. Okay, and I'll show you guys that again. Apply more pressure in the beginning and then release the pressure as you swoop up. Okay, so you make strokes like that. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Cool.
Comma strokes.
Yeah, little comma strokes, exactly. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to do a bunch of those to make up the branches of our tree. So starting at the base of our tree, and we know how wide we want our tree to be because we marked that out in the beginning. We're going to start kind of in the snow that we created and work our way up the tree like that. And as I move to the other side, I just kind of want to be mindful that my tree is circular looking down. So some of these branches are going to be closer to me due to perspective and how we're viewing the tree. Does that make sense? So it's not going to be totally flat like this. It's going to be kind of curved because that's how we would be staring at this gorgeous snow-covered tree on top of this hill. Big and up. Okay. So really what I mean by that is that we're going to have the branches that are more towards the center further out. And apply more paint to your brush as you need it. Okay, so now that we kind of made this first base layer, we're going to keep going the different levels of our tree. You kind of see here how it kind of looks like there's different levels. And what we're going to do to achieve that look is we're going to start a little bit further out, you know, go about a ½ inch up and start a little bit closer to the trunk of your tree. Okay, and we're going to do a brush stroke there, kind of like a skirt or something. Okay, and we're just doing that nice little stroke that we did all the way to the other side. All right, and we're going to carry that up, you guys, starting a little bit up, a little bit more in, so that as our tree gets taller, it gets more narrow. And we don't want huge globs of paint on our glass. So see there, I put a little too much paint on my glass. So I'm just going to go over it again and kind of sweep up some of that excess paint that I don't really want on there. And the reason we don't want that much paint on our glass is because we're going to add a little bit of detail with our patina. We're getting near to the top, you guys. So once you get closer to the top, I personally just like to be a little bit more mindful of how pretty the tips of my brush strokes end up, because I want the tip of my tree to be really pretty. And then your tree should look something like that right now. So I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds to catch up if you need it. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and rinse my brush and apply some patina to my palette. This really pretty light aqua color. And John, while we're catching up, I feel like this is something I always forget. Would you grab the blow dryer that's by my station?
What? The hair dryer is the
Thank
key
you.
and the key tool.
I know it. I always need it and I always forget it. Thank you.
Now we're gonna find a place to plug it in where you're gonna reach.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
All right, you guys. So we're going to move on, and I'm going to go ahead and blow dry my white tree right now so that it stays in place. Okay. I always like to, it's always good to move your paint out of the way too whenever you're blow drying, so you don't dry your paint because you still want it to be workable. All right, let's go ahead and blow dry. Okay, guys, so once your painting is pretty dry, we're going to go ahead, after you've already applied some patina to your palette, we're going to go ahead and we're going to apply some of that patina to our brush. And we're not going to apply quite as much patina to our brush as we did apply the wicker white. So you see how much paint is on my brush? Not quite as much as the wicker white. And that's because we really just want this patina to act as details, okay? It's not going to act as our full branch. It's just to brighten up our tree a little bit, okay? So what we're going to do is keeping in mind the underside. So like this part, the underside of our tree branches, we're going to swoop with our patina now, okay? And it's okay if you overlap some of those branches, because you can always go over and retouch with the white, okay? And I'm barely really adding much patina. And once you've kind of done the initial work through, go back and wherever you see that you want to add a little bit more color, then go ahead and do that. Because this is really going to liven up our tree. All right. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to offload my patina onto my paper towel until I really don't have much patina on my brush anymore. And then I'm going to kind of go in with my white. And wherever I want more white to be now, I'm going to add it. All right, you guys, so now your tree should be looking like this. Okay, so now we can go ahead and rinse our brush again. And while we're rinsing our brush, we're gonna load some happy green onto our palette. It's a really pretty color. Okay, same thing. We're going to add some happy green to our round brush. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we are going to paint this really pretty garland that we see on our finished painting here, all this green garland. So how we're going to do that is we're going to start off pretty lightly where our garland first appears on our tree. So we're gonna apply a light amount of pressure and then apply a little bit more pressure and then pick up, kind of like those comma strokes. And what that does, it's gonna create a thicker width of brush stroke in the middle of where we made our brush stroke and thinner ends. Does that make sense? I'll show you what I mean on my palette paper. So more pressure and then light, okay? So let's do that more. Okay. And as our tree gets wider, we're going to add more strands of our garland. And if you're not quite comfortable making that brush stroke, then what you can do is you can kind of just make this U shape with the tip of your brush stroke. The tip of your brush, and then kind of do it again like this. So almost like you're making a little mouth, and then just kind of fill it in. Okay, whatever's easiest for you. All right, just keep making those. Okay. I'm totally guilty. Whenever I paint, I do not know when to stop. So if you're the same way as me, then this is your chance to go ahead and touch up whatever you want to. Okay, and once you're done with that, you can go ahead and rinse your brush. Now for the fun part. So here is when we are going to use our sea sponges. And if you're wondering at home, if you don't have a sea sponge, you're like, Emma, what can I use? You can use a scruffy brush. You can use a stencil brush. Those are good options too. But I found that the sea sponge is the easiest way to achieve this method that we're about to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply our Wicker white to our sea sponge, okay? And so it looks like this. And now we're going to kind of offload by swirling, hula hooping on our paper towel. And then we are going to achieve this really pretty snowy edge. And it almost looks like you're looking through a window and the edges of the window are like starting to crystallize because it's so cold outside. And we're going to dab the edges of our window. And I love what Jessie did on this original painting, where she kind of really made it look like a window. So the corners of her edge here are a little bit wider, and then they get a little bit thinner on the long edges. And the cool thing about the sea sponge is that it really makes it look like little ice crystals.
Are those next week's ornaments? Yes.
How's everybody's paintings looking? So I have my glass on just a piece of palette paper, just so you guys can see it a little better. It's looking good. Okay, now same thing we just did with our white. So I should have mentioned this too, but you really want barely any paint on your sea sponge, okay? The less paint you have, the better, because if you needed another, more paint, you could always go for more, but you can't take any away. So now we're going to do the same thing with our patina, and we're not even going to flip our brush or anything. We're kind of going to allow the white to mix with the blue to kind of create a lighter color. And we're going to do the same thing with our patina, allowing our colors to kind of mix as they're being bounced onto our glass. That way we get that really pretty snowy blue color. And if your blue is a little bit too blue as it's going onto your frame, then feel free to, with a paintbrush, mix your patina with your white on your palette. Okay, you guys, now you can, if you're wondering how you clean your sea sponge, you just, same thing you would do to your paintbrushes. You just rinse it under running water and the paint would come out just fine. But you want to make sure that you keep your sea sponge damp before, if you're not going to wash it immediately, because you don't want the paint to dry in your sponge. So whatever, I'm working with like a sea sponge or a sponge or a spouncer or something like this. I just like to stick it in my water basin until I can go get up and rinse it so that my paint doesn't dry on it. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, you guys, now we're going to add some ornaments and decorate our tree. So using our liner brush, we are going to use the back of it. Actually, I think we're going to need a bigger one. So we're going to break out our round brush and go ahead and dry that off. While we add some of our pretty colors to our palette. So if you didn't notice, these, the fire coral and the lavender and the light lavender, these are all colors of our ornaments. We have these really pretty pastel ornaments going on.
Emma, we did have a question earlier about, I think someone wasn't able to get fire coral. So what kind of color could they mix up for that?
Yeah, totally. So honestly, the ornaments, fire coral is an ornament color. So whatever pretty colors you want to switch in for your fire coral, then feel free to do that. But if you really love the fire coral, then what I would recommend doing is mixing like a touch of red and a touch of orange with a lot of white, and then you'll get a similar color to fire coral. All right, so using the back, you heard me correctly, of our round brush, we're going to go ahead and stick the back of our paintbrush in our paint, and we are going to daub ornaments on our tree. And kind of swirling as we go to make our ornaments a little bit bigger. And now we're just going to wipe it off with a paper towel so we can grab a new color. And wiping it off. And then lastly, we'll go in with our baby pink. So cute. Okay, now for the very last step, you guys, we're going to break out our treasure gold again. Okay, and I honestly have enough right here on my cap, on my lid. So we are gonna grab our, the end of our brush one more time. And we're gonna be pretty generous with how much we add to the end of our brush. And we're gonna dot, just like we have been doing, to our topper, okay? Just a circle, not a star yet. And then we're gonna go in with our liner brush and start in the middle of our paint and drag out, creating our star. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing if you wanted to add little star ornaments down your tree. Do that. How's everybody doing?
I think everyone is doing fine.
Good. I'll give you guys a second to catch up before we move on to our very last step. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to apply some more Wicker white onto my palette because I ran out. And we're looking for just like a fingernail size. Is that a weird comparison?
Mm,
All right.
maybe a dime? I don't know. Smaller than a dime?
Okay, smaller than a dime. Okay, so we're going to take our really wet flat brush and we're going to mix some of that water from our flat brush into our white paint. Okay, and because we've been working with such light colors, if you can tell, my water basin kind of looks like milk. So we're not worried about the color affecting our paint. It's if you guys want to use clean water, then by all means be an overachiever and get some clean water, but I'm really not worried about it since we're mixing white with since we're using white as our color that we're watering down, and our water basin is so pale. Okay, so what we're looking for in our paint and water mixture is like the texture of milk. Maybe a tiny bit thicker than milk. I'm going to move this out of the way because it's about to get messy, you guys. So in our instructions, we called for a toothbrush. So a toothbrush will work really, really great, but if you don't have a toothbrush, then your flat brush will work just fine. And I'm actually going to pick up our painting. And this is a piece of palette paper I folded in half. I'm going to make it bigger so that I don't get my table all messy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold my thumb on my paint and water mixture covered, paintbrush, and I'm going to go ahead and rake my thumb across the bristles, achieving a fly specking pattern. And this way it's going to look like it is really snowing in our painting. We're going to get all these really, really fine dots of snow on our Christmas tree. So that is how you get really thin dots. So go ahead and do that and achieve that really, really fine snow. And then I'm going to reapply my paint mixture to my brush. And to get those, bigger blotches of snow, I'm going to go ahead and hold my, my paint brush with my non-dominant hand. And then with my dominant hand, I'm going to grab another brush. Doesn't really matter what kind of brush you use. And I'm going to tap. Okay. And that's going to give us bigger particles. So those are two cute little techniques for fly specking that you might not have known before. And then once you do that, I told you guys this was going to be a quick one. You are done. How fun and quick and easy was that? And you're left with your beautiful Winter Wonderland painting. That makes a really cute, timeless piece of home decor.
Love it.
Thanks. So you guys, thank you so much for tuning in with us. Just like always, we do a Monday night paint class every night here at every Monday night here with Michaels. We want to give Michaels a big thank you for allowing us to be here and to be with all of you guys and to teach you hopefully a really fun painting and a couple of new techniques that maybe you didn't know before. And I want to give a little sneak peek to our next Monday night painting. I'm so excited about these. They're gorgeous. Kirsten Jones is going to be in the studio with us painting these really, really beautiful ornaments just in time for Christmas. Kind of really pretty watercolor technique on these bisque ornaments. It's gorgeous. And I can't wait to tune in and see how she does it. So do you have any more closing words, John?
I don't think so. Thanks for the preview. So yes, I know there was some question in the chat about the class, but it does appear that it is up. So Ash has put a link in there and you can find those, and that'll be a lot of fun next week. So we hope to see you then.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, big thank you again, guys, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.